Thanks, Eric. That's a tough act to follow. Good evening. So my name is Kim Reeves, longtime recreationist. I've traveled this province with my family and with my children, recreating, motorized, non-motorized, for the better part of 30 years, I guess. But it was the purchase of a four-wheel drive vehicle and the joining of a club that brought me to the Four-Wheel Drive Association of British Columbia. And then volunteering and advocating on behalf of our members. So better part of 2 decades now of advocating. A few years later, 2015, I attended an Outdoor Rec Council board meeting and then was promptly recruited to add a motorized voice to the board. I worked with Jeremy for, I guess, 3 years, 2-3 years, and it became very apparent very quickly how much he dedicated of his life to this organization. He guided us through the dark ages of recreation in the early 2000s. I think recreation was in a bad place. So I've served on the Outdoor Rec Council now for 12 years as a director, a chair, a past chair, and now as a director again. As Dave alluded to, in 2018, when we didn't have an executive director, we had some funds. We could carry on for a number of years, or we could believe in the organization, believe that it could be a high-performing organization, and we went all in. We bet the house, and we decided to hire an executive director. So Jeremy was a volunteer executive director. That's how committed he was. And in 2019, I believe, we hired Louise Peterson. I believe Dave was chair at that time, and I think he did the interviews, and boy, did we strike gold. In 2020, we undertook strategic planning. We charted out the next 5 years of the organization. We completed that plan in 2021. Here we are 5 years later. Boy, time does fly, doesn't it? 5 years later, we are substantially complete of that plan. There's one exception. I'll get into that in a moment. Louise and staff, some great hires, some exceptional student hires, quite admirable, operationalized that strategic plan. And we accomplished a lot of stuff. You've seen many of the accomplishments as you read the boards out in the rotunda there. And I'll touch on a few in the last 5-6 years. Working in a good way was mentioned earlier. Reconciliation toolkit, so guidance for our provincial members, for our regional members, on working and developing a relationship with First Nations and working with First Nations. You know, tackling the plans that each of our provincial or regional organizations are trying to accomplish. We worked with government on the Provincial Trails Advisory Body. We co-chaired that with the government, setting out or attempting to set out a vision and strategy for recreation in this province. As can happen though with government, you know, governments change, priorities change. That one did not come to successful completion, but we are building on some of the foundations that were set, you know, from those committee meetings. The Outdoor Recreation Fund. Staff, Louise, Jimena, are you here? You are somewhere. Jimena, way to go. develop a plan, and we advocated for that plan to government, and we achieved seed funding, $10 million for the Outdoor Recreation Fund. In the last 3 years, we have funded almost $1 million to organizations around this province. Incredible, incredible. And this conference, we have needed a recreation-focused conference on recreation, just recreation, not recreation bolted to something else, recreation, right? Honoring the nonprofits and the volunteer organizations, or as John, would you call them? Recreational governments or something like that? No, he didn't say that. He said recreation specialists. How about that? Something like that. Anyway, this conference is a wonderful thing. So nonprofit organizations like us, volunteers, I don't believe that we volunteer for a profit motive. We don't really have business plans. We might have business plans, but it isn't a profit outcome that we're looking for. What are we doing? We're creating value. It's not an economic value, it's a non-economic value, but it's value. We're creating value for our recreating members and the public and those who are lucky enough to travel to this province and recreate. Our values, you know, moving around in the outdoors, motorized or non-motorized, doesn't matter. Moving around physically in the backcountry improves our health. Moving around in the backcountry improves our mental health. We're grounded. Well, grounded's good enough. And our spiritual health, just being in this province, enjoying the many environs that we see, our sense of awe, you know, we all know it. We all know it. But this value is difficult to measure. Like, how do we measure the experiences that we have? Whether it's your child's first fish caught, whether it's a downhill mountain bike run that is just outside your zone, where you're pushing your boundaries, you're expanding your horizons. Or maybe it's guiding a four-wheel drive recreationist down a difficult trail. We've experienced it, and it's profound. Or maybe it's the Kettle Valley Railway and the Trans-Canada Trail, hiking, biking, riding a quad. What's the value of that experience? How do we measure it? What we don't measure or can't measure is difficult to consider in decision making. We can measure dollars and cents. It's easy. You spreadsheet it. Profit, loss, cost, benefit. But value, this is something we have to learn how to measure. Storytelling, I heard earlier, is probably the way. But we need to measure it because it needs to be considered. It needs to be considered. Kettle Valley Railway is a perfect example. The announcement of the decommissioning, the destruction of the Brookmere to Princeton line, assessments made of repairing that were $60 million. That's a lot of money. But decommissioning is $20 million. Well, that's a lot of money too. So the difference is $40 million. But what's the value of that trail to us, to our children, to their children? Tough to measure. So I mentioned earlier that there's one goal that we did not accomplish. So we had a goal, strategic goal number 5, was to come up with a unified vision, motorized, non-motorized, on the future of the Trans-Canada Trail, rail trails in general. This is a board-assigned goal, so I can't blame anybody but ourselves. And I championed that goal, and I take it as a personal failure. But I haven't lost hope yet. Not yet. Our volunteers, your organizations, you create value. We advocate for that value. That's why the ORC exists. We advocate. Big picture, on your behalf, on our organization's behalf, provincial members, regional members, the recreating public. This value is capitalized on by tourism organizations, destination, adventure organizations. So the money is seen, the value is there. Well, how do we measure it? So, where are we going? I can't answer that exactly for the ORC because I don't speak, really, for the ORC, but I'll take a stab at it. I'll make a couple of observations from my experience in recreation. So one is, I know that almost every backcountry recreationist utilizes a four-wheel drive vehicle to access their trailhead, or a Subaru. So the Subaru is a bit of a humor point, but the all-wheel drive vehicle is ubiquitous. This makes us all hybrid recreationists. So if we can realize that and accept that, then we can realize that we're all pretty much the same. We all have pretty much the same values. We just recreate a little bit differently. Maybe some of us consider the vehicle as part of our recreation. Some of us consider it a tool to drive the recreation. But whether motorized or non-motorized, four wheels drive recreation. The other observation is, I'm looking at the experts in recreation. We don't need to look outside this room. We don't have to look at industry. We are the ones that know recreation, every discipline, right? So whether you have a kayak on your Subaru or a mountain bike in the back of your Tacoma or horses behind your diesel 350, or you climb mountains and you drive a 4Runner, it doesn't make any difference. We're all in this together. If we can unify as recreationists, if we can harness the experts and the leaders in this room, I don't think anything can stop us, right? No vision is too large. So even goal number 5, right? Maybe we can start with a stay of execution, right? Let's keep the Kettle Valley Railway and the Trans-Canada Trail, and let's figure it out. So the Outdoor Rec Council, with the experts and the leaders in this room, unified, we can accomplish anything. Thank you.